To another episode of Voices. I'm your host, Keston Jones. Again, Voices, Visionaries offering information with clarity, expertise, and substance. And today we have another visionary, Mr. Rick Rogers.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Yourself?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling even better that we're talking about the subject that we're going to talk about today.
Sure.
And really the importance of being an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about finance. We're talking about economics, especially in our community. When I say our community, I'm talking about communities of color, communities that are somewhat downtrodden and really lacking resources. And for me, in someone who's working in communities of color, I know that there are a lot of great minds. But unfortunately, we don't cultivate those minds. And some of us are fearful of taking that step to be that leader, to be that owner. And I first of all, I know you have a busy schedule, and I really, I'm gracious, and I thank you for giving us your time today. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure's mine. Pleasure's mine.
All right. So without further ado, I know the viewers, some of who may be aware of what the work you do, but tell us a little bit about yourself and your upbringing, where you're from. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm inspired by again, you know my name, Rick Rogers. My passion is entrepreneurialism, economics, economic awareness, and economic reform for people of color, for communities of people of color, those of us throughout the diaspora. I'm inspired by those thinkers of the Harlem Renaissance. Yeah, I'm inspired by those thinkers, and we
So
have,
you're from Harlem?
certainly.
Oh, okay, all right.
Certainly, you put it out there. Yeah, certainly. But I'm from all of the Harlems. I'm from Chicago. I'm from Watts. I'm from. You understand? We share the same experience. And and if I may, one of the things that it's really distasteful when someone asks me, because I'm everywhere. I'm working with some people from the International Human Rights Commission at the United Nations. I've just met recently with Cornel West, and he agreed to help us go forward with the program that we're initiating. In any event, when someone asks me, where are you from? Where does it look like I'm from? By way of Africa.
Okay.
But I mean, our conditions are the same. In any event, economics is my passion. And I'm inspired by those persons from those thinkers of the Harlem Renaissance. I'm talking about, and let me not, I would be, it would be remiss if I was not to say Harriet Tubman. Those four persons, you know what I mean? And because someone just mentioned, they said if Harriet Tubman was waiting for a paycheck, we'd still be in chains. You understand what I'm saying? So I have to do these things. I'm not getting paid for a lot of the things that I'm doing. I still have a day job. I teach workshops. I facilitate workshops, and that doesn't pay me, but there's a greater plan. In any event, I'm inspired by those thinkers of the great Harlem Renaissance, W.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, the thought that came out of that, and the Avetta debate and things like that. I think we need to put those things together. We need thinkers, we need workers, we need all those things. We need poets, we need all those things that inspire us. We need singers, So I'm inspired from that particular epoch.
So do you, speaking of inspiration, do you believe that there's a lack of folk nowadays in our era that are inspirational, or are these individuals hidden gems and we haven't discovered them yet, so to speak?
Well, what I believe is that there's a lot of distractions. I believe there's a lot of distractions. You mentioned in your intro about how there are a number of, there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential, but there's so many distractions. If you think about, and I don't want to get into a long thing, but we think about the Roman Empire, we think about bread and circus. It was about feed them and entertain them. And there's too much bread and circus going on in our communities. We don't have the luxury of that. I think that we need economic empowerment.
So, economic empowerment. Why you? Why
us?
Yeah. Well, why us? Definitely. But why you as one of the individuals that are out there, really striving to teach our community? Why did you take that upon yourself?
Well, certainly, at the risk of sounding immodest, I don't want to say that I'm a visionary, but I do see that we're not heading for a good place. African Americans ourselves. There are new immigrants coming into this country. And they're taking advantage of those fields of the science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And I look around and say, well, where are the African Americans? Where are the formerly enslaved? Where are we in that? Where are my grandchildren in that?
Definitely. I mean, I certainly see it as well. And that's why, I do the work that I do. That's why this show was created. Visionaries offering information with clarity, expertise, and substance. And I think it's important for us to be visionaries and to be out there and to lead our community as positive examples, especially amongst men. The work that I do, I work primarily with men, and I often see that the men in our community, they lack self-esteem. They lack this kind of vision of empowerment and forward thinking. One of the books that I read, I would say about 15 years ago, was Stephen Covey's book, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah, certainly.
And one of the things that I learned from that book is to begin with the end in mind.
Yeah.
And some of the individuals, most of the individuals that we're talking about, the community, they don't see that. A lot of them, they focus, we focus day to day. And I say, I don't say day because I'm a part of this community. I live in the community. I live in Brooklyn. And it at times hurts me because I see so much potential. And that's why, like yourself, I'm striving to do the work that I do. So again, thank you for coming on the show. And when you talk about, the works that you mentioned, workshops, and you work with communities as well as businesses. Tell me a little bit
teams,
about teams. Excuse me. Yeah, teams. Tell me about those workshops and what separates you from someone else doing this type of work.
Well, again, let me say that there's a lot of others like myself who's trying to do work. So I don't want to get the emphasis on me. All praise to God for actually putting us in this position. Necessity is the mother of invention. I look around and it's obvious to see the condition we're in. Again, I mentioned earlier about bread and circus. We're entertaining, but we're not going anywhere with that. The life has to be more than just sport and play.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, but to get more to your question, is that where are we? 50 years ago, when I was coming up, I'm only about 30 now.
Absolutely.
In any event, 50 years ago, we owned, some of the establishments or a great majority of establishments in our neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I don't see, and I'm not, I believe in economic fairness.
Yeah.
However, I don't see any African American stores, not even clothing stores, in other neighborhoods. I have an apartment in Crown Heights myself, in a predominantly Jewish neighborhood. And I just don't see that there. But I see their stores, their ownership in the neighborhoods in Harlem, in certain parts of Brooklyn, in Queens, and
so what would you say if someone says that specific line of thought can be considered to be prejudicial or racial? What would you say?
I'd laugh just like that, dear.
Okay.
It's prejudicial. It seems to me to be intelligent. It seems to me to be intelligent. But now don't misunderstand me. I'm not blaming it on anybody. I'm saying that's the need, and that's why. Because the question you ask is, why do I feel the need to do that?
Absolutely. It's amazing because growing up, I'm a young man growing up in the community, and even places like Harlem. I would travel to Harlem. I would hear stories about buildings that were like literally minimal. You can get them for a few $100s in some cases, and buy a whole building. And I would hear stories about some of our elders who did not take advantage of those opportunities. And it's amazing that these buildings are now worth millions of dollars. The same very buildings that some of us may have had the opportunity to acquire. And you ask yourself, why didn't this happen? So in thinking about that, you have a term, you have a brand, and you speak about that entrepreneurial mindset. Can you tell us about that particular mindset? Because it's in my opinion that maybe more individuals need to have this mindset in order to acquire these properties in these other areas.
Well, I think that you have to be, the entrepreneurial mind is a courageous mind. You have to be willing to step away from the herd. Follow your dreams, follow your passions. Don't worry about finances and capital and money at this particular point. The Federal Reserve has a term called opportunity cost. Opportunity cost means that you have to sacrifice now in order to gain later. So think about opportunity cost. Your opportunity will cost you right now in order to take advantage of it in the future. About those buildings you mentioned, I remember those quite clearly. I know a few people in the Harlem neighborhood, I was fortunate to know a few people that took advantage of those things. And what it was for $1. You can buy those buildings for $1.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, it's for $1. So what it was, when you have abandoned buildings, what happens is that they're still on the city government's tax roll. They're still paying, they're not gaining any taxes from those particular buildings. But they still have to upkeep them, then there's liabilities and things like that. If they're working, now listen to this example real carefully. But if these are working buildings, then they're getting taxes. They're employing people, and the persons who are being employed are also paying taxes. The same example the Federal Reserve uses to say that, for instance, in people of color are on the debit side of the equation. They're not bringing any income, but at the same time, they have to give them health care, they have to give them insurance, they have to give them food and EBTs and all of those other things. So they cost. So wouldn't it be better for us to be an asset than a liability for all concerned?
I mean, I think it's a mind state, and I think also we live in an era where there's a lot of information that's being put out there that may not be accurate in terms of, you know, because we look at the face of welfare and we see examples, and it's, you know, often a black mother or, you know, individual that may have just been returning citizen and so on and so forth. But in this here United States, I know there's a lot of states that the recipients of welfare are not black or brown, but primarily Caucasian or primarily white. So we have a lot of bias in terms of how people even view individuals who are receiving welfare, and I think it's very unfortunate. But I do know that in the communities that I come from, especially working in places like Brownsville, where, you know, we have the highest concentration of housing projects in the United States, you know, in places like this, there is a prevailing need and a usage for welfare. And I often talk to people, and I try to empower them to think outside the box, not just even to get a job, but how to create jobs.
Yeah.
So in talking about the entrepreneurial mindset, what advice would you give someone, or what area of business would you give someone? Folks, I'm trying to give you a free consultation right now.
And you're getting that, pal.
But what area of business would you suggest, or not even area of business, what type of business would you suggest someone from meager beginnings go after? You know, what areas, or maybe some areas that are on the rise, so to speak?
You know, you're a great interviewer because you give me the answers. In any event, meager beginnings. Everybody that came here came with meager beginnings.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't worry about meager beginnings.
Yeah.
You were born into this world with nothing, so don't worry about that. Be courageous. Go after your dreams. You don't have anything to lose. Yeah. Interestingly, Donald Trump said that to the African Americans. What do you have to lose? Interesting. Yeah. Ironically so. In any event, like I mentioned earlier, to be courageous. Be courageous. Go after it. What do you have to lose? You have everything to gain. Yeah, but I remember somebody said something to a guy, you know, in the Harlem neighborhood. You know, listen, I can tell you some stories, pal. But what happens is that, and they're ironic. And these guys come from, and these older men and women come from an age where they dealt with common sense. I remember a guy came and asked somebody for some money, an older guy. And he said, listen, I'm broke. The guy said, well, you're in a good position. He said, what do you mean? He said, there's nowhere to go but up from there.
Absolutely.
That was interesting to me, you know, the wisdom behind that. It was insulting, offensive to the guy, but it was, if you look behind it, you know. So in any event, you know, I would say importing and exporting. Yeah, those are great things to do here.
You know, it's amazing.
Distribution.
I was talking to a young lady, and she was very into purchasing hair.
Yeah.
And I say purchasing hair meaning for herself.
And
in the African American community, there's a lot of stores in terms of hair stores and product stores that are not African American based, but they're making a lot of money from this community. And I told this young lady, and I said, I think, you know, you have a great presence on social media. You have a lot of followers. You have a lot of people that appreciate your beauty. I think maybe if you think about, you know, becoming a business owner and actually importing, you know, really purchasing hair wholesale and selling it back to the same community, the same followers, you can make a profit. And that was about 5 years ago that I told her. And since then, she's actually went from an online business.
Probably a millionaire.
Actually,
she's probably a
I
millionaire.
don't know if she's a millionaire, but she should probably give me a few bucks. You know who I'm talking about. But this woman now has a storefront, and it was just amazing. Just you know, an idea became this nugget that grew into this acorn that grew into an actual oak tree. So I think that there's a lot of examples of that, and I would empower individuals who are watching this episode, or also individuals that we know in the community, to actually go out there and strive for greatness.
And you know, one of the things we do at the workshops, okay, I mentioned import and exporting. Okay, now and distribution. I talk to so many of our African Americans who are truck drivers. They drive for Walmart and Home Depot, and they're driving across the country. You already know distribution. You already know distribution. You know where all the hubs are. You know all of these aspects. You already know these things. already know these things. Put them together. Do it for yourself now.
Absolutely. It's a controversial topic too, where we often hear about this, where somebody, especially in Harlem, in the 80s and Brooklyn, these various areas of Bronx, people say the Bronx, the 2 for 5 messed up the crack game, so to speak. But to use a segue, where there's a lot of individuals that believe that selling drugs is the way to go, and these individuals are, in terms of mathematics, ounces and are able to count money and are able to have many empires where they have various people working for them. And you ask yourself, like, why are you doing something? Well, why aren't you able to take these same transferable skills in terms of selling, finding a product, even creating a bag that looks aesthetically pleasing or
product
something
design.
like that. Product design. All these things are evident in the drug dealer. And you ask yourself, why can't this individual?
See, now you're going to make my job look real easy. You're going to make it look real easy. Because it really is.
Yeah.
Because when I talk to audience like that, I talk to a lot of gang members. And I teach workshops at a lot of different centers as well. And I tell them that you already, sometimes I'll put on the board. I'll say, raise your hand. How many people know market research, market analysis, market strategy? And they like, okay, it seems foreign. I said, okay, now, you guys, you may know somebody who sells drugs. Maybe not yourselves. I get a little laugh and chuckle at that. I said, okay, well, so what do you do when you want to go into a neighborhood? One guy told me, he said, I cased the joint. Well, that's called gathering the pertinent data. That's market research, gathering the pertinent data. And then what do you do? Well, I want to find out how much money is available in there. That's market analysis. Analysis has to do with the numbers. And then what do you do? And then I form a plan on how we can go in and get it. That's market strategy. So everybody raise their hand. Market research, market analysis, market strategy. Now, what do you do if there's some drugs, if there's marijuana in the area, and you want to put, I don't know, jelly beans in the area, right? What is that called? That's called market penetration. It's already a market developed already. You're just penetrating that market with a different product. So I said, in a nutshell, the game is the same. It's just the products and services that change.
Absolutely, and in addition to the products and service, once we transition to the legal game, it's the product and service that you can keep, that you can show, that you can build wealth, that you can get loans, that your credit will increase. And it's important for us to understand that some of us are inspired to do things that we seemingly believe is beneficial to us, but the longevity of it and the business acumen that you've developed is not something that's best for you or your community. So using the analysis of crack and those other things. By the way, we're not trying to give you advice. Let's give a disclaimer. We are saying that there's many people that are doing examples of this and great minds that are housed in correctional institutions. That these minds could have been cultivated to be the next leaders in our communities. So, and I think it's very important for us to really think about this, think about being businessmen, think about being entrepreneurs. But one of the things that I want to talk to you about, the work that you're doing, and are there any upcoming projects that you're currently working on?
Certainly. Well, I was just at a forum at Pace University, and I had a chance to talk to Professor Cornell West, and so we talked after the show, and we talked for a long time, and so he gave us his assurance that he would be available for us for whatever he wanted to do with regards to repairing what was going on, what's going on in diaspora. We're coming up with a project, and it's dealing with health, human development, and economic reforms. Okay, we're not begging. Okay? We're going to show that we want to be on the credit side of the equation, and we're going to show through our programs that we are necessary. You mentioned something just a moment ago about loans and credit and things like that there. And when you come up with a plan, that's great. You're going to be able to select who you want to take the money from. You don't have to it's no longer with your hand out. You're going to be saying, no, we're not going to deal with you. We're going to deal with you. You're going to be able to select everybody. There's a lot. Money is plentiful. I mean, you know how much money is just in this one block area? Can you imagine how many people are looking for good investments just in this one block area? You show them a good investment, listen, they're going to be begging, they're going to pay you to take their money.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hopeful that we can have more programs and more opportunities like
coming.
yours,
it's coming. No, it's
where
coming.
the community is educated on these opportunities, because there's a very checkered past in terms of proposals being developed. However, when people of color went to banks and showed these proposals, we certainly didn't get the loans. And in cases that when we did get the loans, the interest rate was astronomical. And so we had individuals that with asset, with capital, that needed a little bit more, and what they were paying in the long run was certainly debilitating. So I would hope that these banks start to treat individuals, all individuals, but including individuals of color, more fairly when it comes to these opportunities for businesses, because we certainly need more business owners.
Well, let me say that you don't have to worry about banks.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You don't have to worry about banks. If you and I here right now have a good idea, we're going to pool our monies together and give it to somebody to start their business.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about banks. And now African Americans now are in a better position. You have African Americans with money now. You have the Oprahs, you have the Snoop Dogs, you have the Denzels, you have the Felicia Rashad, you have the Cornel West. You have persons who can, you come up with a good idea, and not one for selfish reasons, but one that will help all of us. How can they not help us?
We just lost a great one, a young man who, rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah.
He was an individual that made some changes in his life and actually was thinking very much like a businessman, and he was an entrepreneur.
He was a visionary.
He was a visionary. He did a lot of work in his community. So in addition to the community supporting individuals that are business owners, I would also strongly suggest that the community not tear down the community. And this is the work that we need to do in not just entrepreneurial work, not just individuals doing work with cure violence, but all work, health, mental health, substance abuse, and all these various areas. I think we need more work and more help. But you and I can go on all day with this subject. But
well, let me just interject. I have a cousin actually, and she's a reverend, and Esther Henry is her name, and so she wants me to get involved with her Stop the Violence, Put Down the Guns program, and so I am. But I'm coming from a different perspective. I understand. 30 years ago, I was in a gang, so I understand I was the leader of a gang. So I understand that in order to put down those guns, you have to give me something to put back in my hand. People don't have guns just to have guns. They have guns to protect their little turf or whatever they're doing. So take the guns out and do what? This is what they tell me. They call me OG or Unc. Do what? Take the guns out and do what? We have to have something to tell these cats. You have to give them an economic platform. You have to show them they don't want to be drug dealers. They don't want to do it. If they can have organizations and have an organizational structure, okay, and understand promotion and advertisement and sales and all of these sorts of things, again, like you mentioned earlier, it's just the product that they need. It's just the products and services that they need to change. So you already know this. Yeah. So it's not as dire. I said it to say it's not as dire. We just have to get out there and do the work.
We have to cultivate. We have to be among those that are leaders to help the leaders.
I want to congratulate you too as a young man, really, and in NYU.
Appreciate that.
PhDs, goodness gracious.
Appreciate that.
Love you, man.
But like I said, we can go on forever. We can talk about this subject, but I really thank you. I want to thank you for coming, and I know you're doing a lot of great work in the community, and you did find the time to come on the show and bless us with your presence. Before we leave, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave the viewers with in terms of, please direct your attention to the viewers, in terms of, anything that you're working on, or even just a final message for the community?
Certainly, don't be afraid of economics. Don't be afraid of geography. I think geography and economics is our next plateau. I know that for certain. Just pick up a map. World geography, economics, microeconomics, macroeconomics, importing and exporting. Easy things. Google.
Well, you heard it here first. Economics is the way to go, and if we cultivate our economical opportunities, we would have a lot more opportunities, a lot more things to do, and a lot more individuals who look like us who are doing great things. Once again, this has been another episode of Voices. Let me know what your thought is on this subject. How do you feel about entrepreneurialism? How do you feel about finance? How do you feel about individuals who look like us to be at the forefront of those that are making great change in our community? We want to hear from you. Please comment in the comment section. Other than that, Visionaries offering information with clarity, expertise, and substance. I'm your host, Keston Jones, signing off. Peace. Thank you.
It was awesome.